This is our co-feature attraction of the evening, scheduled for 10 rounds of heavyweight action. Your referee for this 10-round go, Brian O'Melia. Introducing first, in the blue corner, fighting out of Dallas, Texas. He weighed in this evening at a fighting 234 pounds. He is currently undefeated at 14-0 with 12 big knockouts. Let's have a big hand for Ike Ibeabuchi. Ibeabuchi. His opponent to my left, in the red corner, from Hillcrest Heights, Maryland. His record, 20-3 with 4 knockouts. Weighed in this evening at 210 pounds. Let's greet Marion Wilson. Wilson. 10 rounds.
There's no hold. I touch up and good luck to folks.
All right, Brian O'Melia giving the introductions there. Ike with a 1-inch height advantage, 24 pounds heavier than Marion Wilson. Slight reach advantage. Mo Wilson, 10 years older. Now, young Ike here in with one of the more experienced heavyweights in the game today. You wake him up 3 o'clock in the morning, he'll go 10 strong rounds. And another key thing here, and always a yardstick when you're fighting Mo Wilson, John, is Mo Wilson has never been stopped.
As we said to start the telecast, a very durable fighter, very awkward fighter. He keeps his hands held up high, almost goes into like a crab-like defense. And he loves to throw the looping right hand. That's what Ike Ibeabuchi has got to look out for.
Ike's got 12 knockouts in his 14 wins. Other thing to look out for is he's never been past 8 rounds, and he's only been there 1 time. Most of his fights, 4 rounds or less.
Yep. In case people are looking at Ibeabuchi and saying, who does that remind me of in the ring? Black shoes, no socks, black trunks, the haircut, kind of the style.
President Eisenhower?
Not Eisenhower. Former President Tyson, president of the heavyweight division until he was defrocked. And Ibeabuchi, when he went to China one time, he told me that they were calling him Tyson. They thought it was Mike Tyson.
Ike's jab looking very sharp here in round number 1.
Actually, a better jab than Mike Tyson.
Very well. Mike had one. He left it someplace somewhere along the way. I was reading an interview with Kevin Rooney, and he was really complaining about Tyson never jabbing anymore. As we're halfway gone in round number 1, Ike the President. He's in the black shorts with the white writing on him.
And there's that looping right hand. We're going to see that from Mo Wilson all night.
Didn't the Jersey Commission used to have a rule that fighters couldn't have the same color shorts? But Mo Wilson taking this fight on very short notice, like 2 days.
Good body shot by the President, and you see him working behind the jab. He likes to think of himself as a bit of a boxer, and if he has to brawl and go toe-to-toe, he thinks he can do that too, Arnie. The one thing Ike has tried to do is get a little bit meaner, have a little more attitude when he goes into the ring.
Well, with 12 knockouts and 14 wins, he's got enough attitude for me. But
he said he realized after the Anthony Wade 8-rounder back last fall, Anthony Wade, about a 305-pound heavyweight, tough guy to get out of there sometimes. Ike realized he didn't have that so-called eye of the tiger. That he really didn't go in with almost a chip on his shoulder into the ring, and he's worked on that consciously.
Wade, one of 2 fighters to go to distance with Ike. That was back in November of '96, going to full 8 rounds. And also Keith Walton went the distance in March of '95 in the 4th start of his career for Ike. As we're coming near the end of round number 1, very good first round here for Ibeabuchi, but again, the better distance horse is Mo Wilson. What did he ever sing? All right, round number 2. We're scheduled for 10. Ike the President, Ibeabuchi, undefeated heavyweight, 14-0, 12 knockouts. He's in the black shorts with the white writing. Mo Wilson coming in with a deceiving 9-20 record, 3 draws, 4 knockouts. And take a look, listen to some of these names. I'm going to rattle them off fast that Wilson has been in with. Franz Bosa, Tyrell Biggs, Jeremy Williams, Andrew Galata, Jade Scott, Ray Mercer, who he had a draw with back in July of '94, Jimmy Thunder, Zelko Marovic, Kirk Johnson, Shannon Briggs, Galata a second time, Mike the Bounty Hunter, who he beat in a 10-round decision, Jeff Wooden, Obed Sullivan, and Orland Norris, and he has never been stopped with those names.
What's interesting in this fight, Arnie, is that both guys are going to the body, trying to establish the will over the other fighter. Good body work from both fighters. You see Wilson going downstairs.
Second start of 97 for Ike. Last fight was in January, 3-round knockout of Calvin Jones on the explosion out in Beverly Hills. Mo Wilson hasn't fought since that split decision loss to Orland Norris back in November of last year.
Ike got out of the way of that looping right hand by Wilson. He telegraphs it, but occasionally he'll find the mark with it also.
Not a heavy puncher, though, Marion Wilson. 4 knockouts in his 9 wins. Ike's never been down in his pro career.
Wilson tends to fight the fight of survival in most fights. He frequently goes into a defensive mode. We saw it early here in the first round and more here in the second round. He needs to pick up the pace. There he is trying to jab his way in. I don't know. Ike doesn't seem to have a lot of snap or pop on his punches here. He's kind of almost pawing with the jab. He tried to catch him with that right uppercut. Missed Wilson.
Well, I think also a trap that fighters get into with Mo Wilson is they want to be the first person to say they stopped Mo Wilson. I had that with Jeff Wooden when he was in there. And all what he could think about it. A big right hand drops in. Rock Ike.
Shook up. No question, Arnie. That got Ike's attention. Ike told me today he was a little bit antsy. He thought with 14 fights he should be in line maybe for an NABF title fight. He wanted to start moving up the ladder a little more quickly. But he's got to get through the Mo Wilsons of the world first.
He is not, I'm impressed with Ike's potential and how he's looked at this point in his career. Remember, he only started fighting pro in October of '94. But at the same time, his level of competition, you have some fighters that when they've had 14 pro fights have been in with much better fighters and have learned a lot more. He's not in that case. As we come near the end of round number 2, nevertheless a good round for Ike.
Is stripping all trip.
As we begin round number 3 of a scheduled 10-rounder, important to point out, if you're just joining us, that Mo Wilson, at least unofficially, took round number 2 on John Saraceno's scorecard and got an even round out of it for me, holding his own at the moment with young heavyweight sensation, undefeated Ike the President Ibeabuchi.
Well, we said early on that this would probably not be an easy fight for Ike. Corey Sanders dropped out. You got a guy who knows how to survive. He knows how to go to the distance. And he's got a very awkward kind of style. He keeps his gloves very high, protects his face. That means the body is open, though. The President's got to get inside and work that body. And now we're seeing Mo Wilson actually dominating Ike with his jab.
Well, experience may come into play.
Ooh, that right uppercut again just glanced off the side of Mo Wilson's face. Not enough to do any serious damage. There's a right hand by Ibeabuchi.
I mean, at this point, you have to give... what else can you say that you have to give it to Mo Wilson that he has a steel jaw?
Ike looking a little bit amateurish there with that combination that found nothing but air. And, you know, that'll take more out of a fighter when you come up with air than anything does. It will fatigue you very quickly. Ike looks a little bit out of sorts here, Arnie, to me.
Now, what happens, John, again, we got to bring up the fact that he's only been 8 rounds once in his career.
Good point.
Never passed 8. And we're scheduled for 10, and with Mo Wilson's track record, odds are he's going to hear rounds 9 and round 10 for the first time in his career, as we're more than halfway gone here in round number 3. 10 years older, Mo Wilson, 34 years of age, Ike's 24. Mo began his career back in August of '89, and very typically Mo Wilson began it with a 4-round draw against Charles Dredd. Only weighed 195 pounds back then, and weighed 210 for tonight's fight. Ike came in at 234 pounds, so he's got a 20-pound or so weight advantage.
Mo Wilson really felt he got robbed in that last fight against Orland Norris. He thought that cost him a huge payday by losing to a guy that was a top 5 guy in the division.
And I got to tell you, a lot of people thought he beat Obed Sullivan. last year as well.
I mean, he believes he clearly beat Harlan Norris. He doesn't even think there was any question. And, of course, he dropped the familiar name in when he was dropping the accusations. Don King he blamed for. Of course, Don King with Harlan Norris.
Not Don's promotion, though, but
no.
maybe his tentacles were out there as we're under 10 seconds to go in the third round. Another busy round for the veteran Mo Wilson.
See some of the best.
Round number 4 scheduled for 10. Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal with John Saraceno. We've got Mo Wilson, sometimes known as Marion Wilson, coming in with the deceptive 9-20 record. So far taking it to the younger Ike Ibeabuchi. Wilson's in the solid black shorts. Ike the president, he's in the black and white. No knockdowns thus far in the fight, and after a fairly strong first round for Ike.
He showed us nothing after that.
John, I gave the second round even. I had the third round for Wilson.
So did I. Ike is fighting in a bit of a fog here in rounds 2 and 3. Let's see if he can come back in round 4 and show a little more pressure. You see him trying to go downstairs, something he abandoned after the second round. Really, after the first round.
And a whole lot of other things you need to factor into this fight as you watch it. Mo Wilson took the fight on 2 days' notice, although appears to be in good shape. Are his legs where they should be?
Well, the good thing about Mo Wilson is he always is in the gym, and he thinks that gives him an edge, even though he doesn't have a good record. He's ready to fight.
And a very strong 10-round fighter at that. Been 10 rounds or more 10 times in his career. Ike has never been past 8. He's only been there once, and that was against Anthony Wade, as we mentioned earlier, back in November of '96. Excellent defensive fighter. Mo Wilson has never been stopped.
You know, Arnie, with his style, Wilson, which is primarily survival in a lot of ways, you can be lulled to sleep with a guy like this. He keeps his gloves up. He's not really pressuring you that much. Before you know it, you're not being aggressive enough, and you're fighting his fight.
You think that's what's happening with Ike right now?
I think in spots it certainly has happened. Ike fell asleep, and that overhand right may have gave him a little bit of caution too. That shook him up. There's no question about it.
Sort of a reverse wake-up call.
Nice short right hand by Ibeabuchi.
We're under a minute to go here in round number 4. Ike's starting to come on a little bit strong here now.
He's throwing that left hook, though, for a little bit too far out in left field. He needs to shorten it up, step inside a little bit. It doesn't look like he has confidence in stepping inside, and I think that's something young fighters have to work on. They have to get in that zone where they feel comfortable, where they're not going to get hit and they can do damage. But a lot of times guys are reluctant. See, you see him how he steps in and he steps out. He's got one foot in the bucket.
Mo's going to get warned for low blows here. Yep, there we go.
It wasn't the first time either. I tell you, the warning might have been the first time, but Mo has landed about 5 or 6 low blows, and there's been several, at that borderline.
Looking to slow down the younger fighter, who's certainly back in the fight and having a much better round as we come to the end of round number 4, scheduled for 10.
I think this fight may have shown Ike that he's got to get back in the gym and keep working. Don't worry about NABF title fights and fighting on network TV. He's got to continue to learn his craft, and that's fighting guys of all styles.
Well, he's also, you have to give this to a young fighter like Ike or almost any fighter. He's almost not qualified to know whether the list of fighters that he has fought have taught him anything.
And they're deducting a point on another low blow, apparently, by Mo Wilson.
And that's going to be, in most fights, these points become very significant. From a man who's lost majority decisions to Jeff Wooden, Obed Sullivan, and a split decision to Harlan Norris, his fights are always close and can't afford a point. And a draw with Ray Mercer.
Huge point there, Arnie. You're right. And you see Wilson now again going back to that wild right hand.
Now, can Ike take advantage of it and make it a 10-8 round for himself, or is he going to let Mo Wilson get back into this round?
Good point. He needs to step it up here.
And instead, it looks like Mo Wilson stepping it up, kind of upset with referee Brian O'Melia for taking that point.
Clearly, that lit a fire under Mo Wilson.
So stamps the ring and drops another low blow, but O'Melia on the wrong side couldn't quite see it.
Yep, he got away with that one. Mo Wilson suddenly wakes up here in Asbury Park.
Also having a case of Galata, though.
Or as we like to say, Golota.
Golota. Ike shaking his head as if to say, why is this guy doing this to me as we hit the 1 minute mark here in round number 5. But what Ike hasn't learned is how to pay back. You should be dropping one in there to even the score a little bit on the more experienced Marion Wilson.
Well, it's anybody's round at this point. Let's see who wants to finish fast. Neither guy apparently wants to finish the round strong. Again, a key round for Ibeabuchi. This could be a 2-point round.
See, what I think's happening with Wilson and why he's landing some of these low blows is he appears to think that he can land an uppercut for some reason on Ike and that it would be a significant punch. And that's every time he's gone to front. There again, uppercut winds up going right into the crotch of Ike the President. And again, fortunately, Brian O'Melia was on the wrong side, because if he sees it again, he'll take another point. As we come near the end of round number 5, point lost round for Mo Wilson. Round number 6, and we're more than halfway gone in the scheduled 10-rounder. And John, how have you got it so far?
Ibeabuchi 48, Wilson 46, based on that 2-point round.
And I've got it 49-46 for Ike the President. And again, for those of you just joining us, point taken away from Mo Wilson in round number 5 for a low blow. Started to ignite Wilson, but then faded in the last 30 seconds of the round, and not enough, at least on my scorecard, to pull the round out and make it a 9-9 round.
Wilson's been holding his own with the jab, Harn. But Wilson not a skilled enough fighter and clever enough once he gets inside.
Well, also from the fact that Marion Wilson's only got 4 knockouts in his 9 wins, he's not a big puncher. Not a big enough puncher. So even when he double jabs and he finds himself inside, he's not necessarily going to hurt somebody like Ike Ibeabuchi. And again, he's looking to dig that right to the body, and that's why it's landing low.
That's an amateurish move.
Mo Wilson, pro career, started, as we mentioned, back in August '89, compared to Ike, who started in October of '94.
Sometimes when he throws that jab out, it's almost a backhand at Ibeabuchi, but he's getting away with it. Hey, it's a fight. Until you're told otherwise, protect yourself at all times, gentlemen.
We're more than halfway gone here in round 6, and it's territory not that familiar to Ike Ibeabuchi, who's only been 8 rounds one time, 6 rounds one other time. All of his others were knockouts, 4 rounds or less. And interesting, I got to point out another thing. You know, we're so used to Mo Wilson being around forever and being 34 years old. He didn't turn pro until he was 27.
Very late start. And Wilson knows that Ibeabuchi hasn't been a lot of rounds in fights. And maybe he figures he can take him out to deep water and drown him in those later rounds. In the meantime, Ibeabuchi has picked up the pace in rounds 5 and 6 to take, I think, control of the fight once again, as he did early on.
We're going to see now if youth plays into it, and the fact that I don't care how much Mo Wilson's in the gym. He took the fight on 2 days' notice. He may be in the gym but not running and may not be able to keep pace. And if I can get something started here, I think one of the things to really look out for, will he be the first man to ever stop Mo Wilson, who in spite of 20 losses and being in with some of the biggest heavyweights in the world today, has never been knocked out.
Watch out, watch out.
we start round number 7 of a scheduled 10-rounder. Things starting to slip away from Mo Wilson. His momentum definitely shifting towards the undefeated Ibeabuchi, really getting his jab started.
Now a lot of those punches, I don't know if people at home can see this, Arnie, but they're being picked off by Mo Wilson's glove. You don't get any credit for those punches. He is trying to make the fight, but that right uppercut missed also.
But certainly the busier of the two right now.
No question. But how effective is the aggression that Ibeabuchi is putting forward? See, there was a wasted hook thrown from the outside. And it's a good thing Mo Wilson's not much of a counterpuncher. And we've seen Mo Wilson do this too, where as he starts getting fatigued, he holds more and more and more.
Wilson certainly doing a lot of catching right now. And when he gets on the inside, he's not really doing anything. Again, almost a 24-pound weight advantage tonight for Ibeabuchi. Mo Wilson coming in at 210 pounds. Ike at 234.
I mean, Ike should be pushing him around the ring. He's the bigger, stronger guy.
And 10 years younger at that.
This is one of those ugly kind of fights that you could see on paper Ibeabuchi was going to have to struggle through. I mean, Mo Wilson doesn't make anybody look good. And there also comes a point when a fighter, we talked about this a little bit earlier, you start acquiescing with the other guy's fight. I think Ike fell into that trap a little, for a couple of rounds and seems to have climbed out of it.
Almost like Ike is a prerequisite to the young heavyweights today. You have to go in there with Ike. He's going to make you look bad. You're not going to knock him out. And you might actually lose a decision if you don't pay attention.
If you're not careful.
Yeah. But
Ike Ibeabuchi does not want that to happen here with Mo Wilson.
After having trouble with Mo in the early rounds, Ike the President taking control. Of course, came in tonight undefeated, 14-0, 12 knockouts. No knockdowns thus far in this fight.
Ibeabuchi beating Wilson to the jab. Wilson electing then not to jab with Ibeabuchi, instead trying to find a way to get inside, but he's merely stepping inside, and he's getting caught with punches as he's moving forward.
We come near the end of round 7. I think you'd almost have to say Mo Wilson in a survival mode at this point.
But you know what? There's something to be said for an honest practitioner of the craft. He tries. He's a limited fighter, but he trains and he gives his all. It's a lot more that can be said for the Bruce Seldons of the world.
John Saraceno, of course, talking about yours truly, Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal. Now, for those of you just joining us, he's talking about Mo Wilson. And Mo starting to try to get that jab started here. Obviously told in his corner between rounds. This fight's slipping away, as many have on the decision basis, to Marion Wilson. And, we're talking a lot about how good Mo Wilson is at losing. And we've got to talk a little bit, though, about our young stud here tonight, Ike Ibeabuchi, and who's fighting a really good fight against a much more experienced veteran. And after 2 or 3 confusing rounds early on, John seems to have really figured Wilson out. And
he's trying to solve that Mo Wilson riddle.
Drops a nice right in over the top, and he's also would love to be the first guy to say that he stopped Mo Wilson.
You know what? I also question Ibeabuchi's punching power. I really do.
How so?
I don't think I just don't think he's a natural puncher. I mean, he's a fair puncher. He's a decent puncher. But sometimes the angles he's throwing from and his footwork, he's not really getting the leverage on his shots that he wants to get. See him right there. Right there. He was flat-footed and just lazy with that combination. Had nothing on it.
Well,
got hit with a short right hand there, Arnie. Mo Wilson right to the chops. Ibeabuchi gets careless sometimes. He really throws that uppercut. He leaves himself open.
Well, it's what you said earlier, though, John, and it's a great point with Mo Wilson. He lulls you to sleep, and it's exactly what he did there to to Ike Ibeabuchi. Ike got lulled to sleep, and he got caught with that short, crisp right inside. However, weathers the storm, and Mo Wilson not able to take advantage of it. He certainly hurt Ike, though, back in the second round.
No,
got his attention back then.
I won't be surprised if Ike thought he was back in Nigeria for a couple of seconds. Where am I?
.30 seconds to go, round number 8. We're scheduled for 10. Ibeabuchi, this is the furthest he has ever been at this point. Has never heard rounds 9 and 10. Marion Wilson's been there 10 times in his career. Nice body shot there by Ike. Referee Brian O'Melia starting to work a little bit harder. Remember, he took a point away. Round number 5 from Wilson for low blows. And this is someplace where Ibeabuchi, undefeated, 14-0. 12 knockouts, has never been. And he comes out. He's got Mo Wilson hurt.
Yep.
Mo Wilson, never been stopped before. Taking the best shots right now from Ike the President. He's got to wonder.
He also landed a couple, too, on Ike's beard. Well, they must have told Mo Wilson between rounds, you got to have a knockout to win this fight. It's getting late.
But he took some big shots there from Ike the President, Ibeabuchi. And I think Ike understands now why some of those names we mentioned earlier, the Galatas, the Bothas, the Jeremy Williams, the Ray Mercers, the Jimmy Thunders, all couldn't stop Marion Wilson. They beat him, they couldn't stop him.
That swelling in the left eye of Mo Wilson. That eye continues to close ever so slightly. Now, I can't afford to fall in the trap here, too, Avarni. Just looking for that one shot now.
John, it's round number 9. Is Ike looking a little tired to you?
Yes. Well, I mean, he came out with that flurry. He looked tired in between rounds on his stool. There was an exchange to start the round, and I think Ike is a bit winded.
And he's keeping his hands low. His legs seem pretty good. His volume of punches are good, but he's keeping his hands a lot lower than he was keeping them earlier in the fight.
And one thing he doesn't want to get caught with is that right hand over the top from Wilson. That's his real weapon.
And Mo Wilson won't give up on trying to land this uppercut. He's thrown a dozen uppercuts in this fight. None of them have landed, and 4 of them have landed low, and it cost him a point earlier back in round number 5. Continues to work the body fairly nice. Carrying that left hand very low right now is Ike the President.
2 good body shots downstairs by the Prez.
We're talking about tired. Mo Wilson holding on real close.
He's holding him like it's his best girl. And for good reason. He got rocked to start this 9th round. And Wilson has stayed away from the body the last couple of rounds. Of course, he had a point deducted in the 5th round.
And we come to the end of round number 9, and he's unofficially going to need a knockout to win this one. Tenth and final round. First time Ike the President Ibeabuchi's been in the 10th round. This will be the 11th go for the distance for the veteran, Mo Wilson.
And you know they told Ike in his corner, watch out for that right hand. Don't get careless. Keep your left up. And Ike is coming out with a lot of offense in this round.
Ike is in the black and white, solid black for Mo Wilson. And, you know, maybe they say, hey, you're far enough ahead. This guy's not hurting you. Let's see if you could be the first guy to stop him. We don't know what. We weren't able to listen in that last round.
Well, I think they realize that Mo Wilson is tired. And Ibeabuchi seems to have caught a bit of a second wind. And he clearly is closing fast in this fight.
And again, unofficially, I've got it 89-82. John's got it 88-82, both for Ike the President.
But you see Ibeabuchi here using some lateral movement in and out, side to side, to try and stay away from that right hand. How many times have you seen before a guy get careless in the final round, get caught with something? But I don't think we're going to see that here tonight. Mo Wilson running out of time. And in more ways than one.
34 years of age in a career that he started when he was 27, has managed to already squeeze 32 fights in. Unfortunately, a record of 9-20, 3 draws, 4 knockouts. And Ibeabuchi, with a little more than a minute to go in the fight, looks like he's well on his way to remaining undefeated, trying to get his 15th win.
Mo Wilson has won only one of his last 14 fights. That includes a draw.
That was the first round knockout of Thomas Williams. However, I know for a fact that 3 of those were either split decisions or majority decisions, and I don't have the details on the ones I don't know about.
So he's been competitive, even in the fights he's lost. And in boxing, competitive will pay the bills.
And John, let me ask you, good learning lesson though tonight for Ike?
No question. I think that Ike may have thought he was farther along than he is in his boxing progress. And to face a guy like Mo Wilson, a survival type guy, an awkward guy, and to know that you can go 10 rounds if you have to, that's got to benefit a young fighter. But Ike's got to continue to work hard in the gym. He's got to work on his skills. He's got to work on his technique, and maybe his win.
I got to tell you though, I'm impressed with the stamina though tonight. I thought he'd be in a lot worse shape coming to the 10th round. I think
body shot by Wilson.
I think he looks in really good shape here tonight, and I think they've got to be very proud with what they managed to get through a full 10 rounds. As unofficially, I have it 99-91. Ike the President, Ibeabuchi. John?
98-90. I'm sorry, 98-91. And I don't think it's going to matter. They don't care about our scores anyway.
We're unofficial.
We're not consulted by the New Jersey State Athletic Commission.
Not about that, anyway. There they are over in the corner with Derek Roddy. Again, excuse me, Derek Roddy. Ike Ibeabuchi took the fight on 2 days' notice. Still jumping around. Mo took it on 2 days' notice. I'm not getting any of the names right. And we take a look here at action from the end of round number 10. And take a look how strong Mo Wilson finished.
Yep, good double jab. And you saw him go into the body, holding and hitting Ibeabuchi. And got off a late flurry there. But it was for naught.
And adjusted nicely, because at the end of 3 rounds, this fight was either even or you actually had Mo Wilson up at the end of 3.
I had him winning rounds 2 and 3.
Right. Nice adjustment, though. Showed good maturity, good stamina, going his first 10-round distance. Ike Ibeabuchi should be improving to 15-0.
You're the man. You're the man.
As we await our official decision. And we're going to go up now to our ring announcer, Dennis Miller.
Boxing fans, here is the decision of the judges. Steve Weisfeld scores it 98-91. Eugene Grant, 189. And the final judge, Emil Conforti, 96-93 for the winner by unanimous decision, Ibeabuchi. Ibeabuchi.
There you have it. Unanimous decision, 98-91, 189